chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what do the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord.
You hear what he said? Keep the commandments, serve the Lord, walk in his ways. All that's synonymous. For what? Just listen and obey God. It's that simple, right? That's all. That's why me and you are good. To keep God's commandments. Salvation means to save, right? Does everybody need saving, or do our people need saving? Everybody? No, really think about it. Think about it, right? I'm gonna pitch you. Right, okay, let me sort of picture mindset in the place that it should be, right? When you examine the whole world, right? What nation of people rules the world? It's an easy answer. I know. Just say it. I won't get offended. Because it's the truth. What nation, what race of people rule the world? Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, I'm taking it there. Right. I want to take it there, though, but I got to take it there to make it plain. Right. Do Japanese people rule the world?
Nowadays, yeah.
The whole world?
Exactly, yeah.
Japanese people?
Japanese, but
Chinese people rule the whole world? So you telling me Chinese people is ruling over America?
A little bit.
A little bit how? No, that's not true. I'll tell you.
I don't know if it's true.
I'll say this. Chinese people. But the so-called white man rules the world.
That's right.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
Now, you said your father was Hispanic. That makes you Hispanic, regardless of how your skin looks, right? Because some of us are light-skinned, like sister here, my brother here, right? Look at him. Most people think this brother, he look like Jesus, right? He look like Escobar. But some of us are like that, some of us are dark-skinned. Give me that in
Hosea 7 and 8.
Give me that right quick. Watch this. What's your name, sis? Vita. Watch this video.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 7 and verse 8. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people.
So when you read the Bible, Vita, Ephraim, when it says Ephraim, it's talking about all these tribes because he was the head tribe. Just like when it says the Jews in the New Testament, it's talking about these three, but it says Jew because he was the main tribe of those three. Does that make sense? So it says Ephraim have mixed himself amongst the people. So these tribes, when you examine them, they mix themselves amongst the people, right? Sex, babies, right? They mix themselves among the people. We don't.
Ephraim is a cake not turned.
So it says, and a result of that is he is like a cake not turned. So if you cook him like a pancake, right? You leave one side on the stove too long, what happened to it? Okay, it's burnt. It's dark, right? I ain't gonna get offended. It's dark, right?
Yeah.
But the other side is what? It's right, it's light. The other side is, one side is dark, one side is light. That's what God is saying about these tribes, which you fall under Issachar. Read again.
Hosea chapter 7 verse 8. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
He's a cake not turned, meaning someone is a spectrum. He's dark, he's light, right? And you got everything that falls in between. That's why we like that, right? His father is what you would call African American, but he looks very light, right? Who else? His father right here is from Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, right? The West Indies, but he looked like he could be he looked like he could come from he looked like he could be Simeon, right? He looked like he could be Hispanic. So we all different shades, all different race hair, right? So it's not about skin color, right? It's about your nationality. So you say you was from the tribe of Issachar, right? That would make you an Israelite, right? So watch this. Give me 10, 12. You know what we're going to
Sir.
We as a people have to repent and keep God's laws. And that's over a process of time. I'm not going to say it's not going to be easy. It'll be as easy as you make it, in a sense, but you have to make it. But we have to keep God's laws. One of God's laws is that we have to keep the Sabbath. Before we get that, read that first, and then we get into the story.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what do the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord.
You hear what it said? Keep the commandments, serve the Lord, walk in his ways. All that's synonymous. For what? Just listen and obey God. It's that simple, right? That's our whole duty. That's why me and you was created, to keep God's commandments.
Yes.
That's all. And God says when we kept his commandments, then we would be blessed. But if we disobey his commandments, then we'd be cursed. And when you look at our people, whether it's here in America and the things that our people go through, right, with discrimination and things of that nature, that happens to us no matter where we go, right? We go to Mexico, it's the same thing. And I don't know if you've ever been back, if you've ever been to Mexico. There you have the same thing exists with you have the light skin and the dark skin. It's people that look like me in Mexico. I don't know if you know or not.
Yeah.
We've been there. It's people that look like me, right?
Right.
Right. My homeboys in school used to call me a scooter. I mean, the dark skin guy, right? But it's people in Mexico that look like me. So it's not about the color, it's the nationality.
So I said it ain't about the color.
Right. So, but God says it's required of us to keep his commandments, right? And today is the Sabbath day. You know what that is? What's the Sabbath day?
The Sabbath day?
It is the Sabbath day. Sabbath. Sabbath. S-A-B-B-A-T-H.
No.
Appreciate it. All praise.
What did you say, Sabbath?
I was in spirit.
Right.
So God says we have to keep the Sabbath day, right? So God says to remember the Sabbath day and to keep it holy. He says remember because there will come a time where our people will forget our original customs because we were scattered in captivity. Check this out, sis. In Mexico, at one time, in between the time that we were called Issachar and Mexicans, we wasn't called that. Or we wasn't called Latin people. That came when we was conquered. To be Latin means like from Greek, from Rome. Rome particularly, right? If you say you Latin, white people are the real Latins. The Spaniards, the conquistadors, the conquerors that conquered our people, right? Those are the real Hispanic people. Those are bywords that were placed on us because we was in slavery to them. We were never Latin. We were never Romans. We were never Hispanic. From Hispanic, that wasn't us. We are the Israelites according to God's Bible, according to the Word of God. Read that. Read that again. Let me get the topic.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor.
So God says, in remembering the Sabbath, 6 days you can labor. Meaning 6 days you can labor, right?
And do all thy work. But the seventh day.
But God says, but on the seventh day, remember you said that? But on the seventh day, the Sabbath day.
It's the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
It's the Sabbath of the Lord, meaning the rest of the Lord. So on the Sabbath day, which is today, you're not supposed to be working. No work. God just wants you to rest. Can you believe that?
I wish I was so.
That's
I have to be at home.
Watch this. Watch this. I want you to look around when I ask this question. How many of y'all keep the Sabbath? See how easy that is? You don't keep it because you don't know. I was the same way. But once you know better, you do better, right?
That's right.
Now you know you're supposed to keep the Sabbath on the seventh day. Now you can start to learn how to keep it, and then you can start to implement that in your life, right? And now, watch this. Look around again. How many of y'all got jobs? So we all work full-time jobs, and we all do not work today.
That's right.
We don't work on the Sabbath because it just so happens that it's a freedom of religion here, and God will have it that way, and we can believe believe what we want, but it has to be this. You understand what I mean by that? We have to keep God's laws. We have the freedom to do that. So we have religious accommodations that can be made because the laws are set up here, and we can keep God's Sabbath. So that's an easy thing. But if you never know, you're supposed to keep it.
Ain't coming out here today.
That's good. I believe that. So if that's what God says, then that's what we got to do, right?
Right.
Let's see what else we're supposed to do on the Sabbath day. Get me, go back to Exodus 16. You might not like this one so much, sis. This is probably the hardest one to not do.
Exodus chapter 16 and verse 23.
But it can be done. I don't say that to discourage you, right?
And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord.
That's that word again, Sabbath, right? So it says tomorrow is the Sabbath. So obviously it's a Friday, right? So it says on the Sabbath, do what?
Bake that which ye will bake today, and see that ye will see, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
So God says, because all I want you to do is rest, Friday, cook everything you're going to eat on Saturday and just put it in the refrigerator. Right. That's what God's saying. That's easy, right? We just have to prep.
Right.
We just got to put a little order in our life. Our people don't have any order in our life. So we gang violence, right? Every bad thing that you can imagine, it happened to our people. But it's because we just refuse to keep God's commandments. Right. So God says on the Sabbath day, I don't want you working. I don't want you cooking, right? Cooking the day before, right? Nehemiah?
Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 15.
Yeah, I want that.
In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath.
So it's the Sabbath day again, right? Which is what day of the week? That's right. All right, go ahead.
And bringing in sheaves and lading asses, and also wine, grapes, and figs.
So they were working on the Sabbath day, right? Well, watch this. This is a story. Watch this, read.
And all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals.
This is Nehemiah. He said they were working on the Sabbath. They were breaking the Sabbath. That's what you call breaking the Sabbath, meaning not keeping it, right? So he said, I testified against them, meaning he went to correct them, right? Read.
There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem.
And there were Africans that came to sell things. But it's the Sabbath, right? Keep that in mind.
Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day?
So because they were working on the Sabbath and buying and selling on the Sabbath, Nehemiah corrected them and said, this is an evil thing that y'all are doing to profane the Sabbath, to break the Sabbath, right? Because there was what? Which was working and buying and selling. Shopping. They were shopping on the Sabbath, right? You're not supposed to shop on the Sabbath because all you're supposed to do is rest. Read.
Verse 18. Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city?
So it says, because he's saying, don't y'all remember that God cursed us with the curses of Deuteronomy 28 when they broke those laws? You understand what I'm saying? Read it again. Let me get the thought.
Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us?
So he says, didn't God bring all this evil upon us for breaking the commandments in the past? He's correcting them, right? He's trying to get them to see what they're doing is wrong, right? So you can't work on the Sabbath, right? Okay, what else? What's the second thing? No cooking, right? All right, now get me 10, you might say. And then we're going to wrap it up. We got to go. We got to head back to the church, all right?
Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 31. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals.
That's the word again, ware and victuals, right? Meaning merchandise. It said if the people bring merchandise, read.
On the Sabbath day to sell.
Okay.
The Sabbath day to sell.
Remember, the subject matter is still the Sabbath day. So on the Sabbath day, you're not supposed to what?
Good. Work.
Any shopping, right? Yes. I mean, you can't go to the mall either. You can't go to the flea market.
Right.
You're not supposed to buy gas. You gotta do it. You gotta do all that Friday, right? That's the order that God is trying to set back in our life, because we are dysfunctional people. But in keeping God's commandments, we can get some order. We can get some understanding, right? People not looking at us with the side eye and all that stuff, right? So we have to learn and come back and keep God's commandments. That's why we come out here, right?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word